Welcome back. It's exactly 8:50 a.m. News and Views on Salam Media. Our next guest is political analyst, and that, of course, is Upule Monama. And we're going to be looking at what I'm quite puzzled about, but I'm going to let you unpack it for us. It's the ANC's Integrity Commission having thrown a spanner in the works, recommending in a damning report that almost 100 members should be excluded from the party's election candidate list. And of course, some of the high profile members were implicated in corruption and widespread state capture in the Zondo Commission. So my question to you is two-pronged. Number one, is the ANC not shooting themselves in the foot with the elections just around the corner? And why wait for the elections to come up? Why was no action taken once the Zondo Commission's report was published? So, two very important questions to be looked at and answered. A very good morning to you. Welcome. And I do look forward to your response to my question.
Very good morning, Julie, and good morning to the listeners and the viewers. Indeed, it's a question of shooting themselves in the foot. But as I said, they say power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. The same goes with arrogance. Arrogance destroys, and absolute arrogance will destroy you completely. The ANC has been ignoring the calls for people who are saying it needs to restore its integrity. In fact, the past Integrity Commission of the ANC glossed over such serious issues that I actually commented that it is more of a danger to the ANC than the ANC itself. You see, the ANC has reached a point where it now realizes that this arrogance has reached its sell-by date. These are the elections that are actually going to determine and define where the ANC is with respect to the government, to its governance and the people of this country. Indeed, they're shooting themselves in the foot because now even ordinary people are beginning to question, why is it that when people get into the ANC offices get so rich? Even those who are innocent are beginning to, people are beginning to suspect that there is something wrong, something untoward. Just recently, there was this whole thing about Minister Mantashe's successful Constitutional Court application with respect to the Zondo Commission findings. It turns out that, in fact, the Constitutional Court has not even dealt with this matter. Now, that shows a desperation within which ANC finds itself, because they've got to say something about those who are in office, who are not being removed, one of which will be Gwede himself. And there are quite a number of them who are there. You can talk about Zizi Kodwa, you can talk about the Deputy Minister of Defense. There are so many people, even in their parliamentary representatives. There are those. You could ask a question. If the ANC respected the notion of integrity, Dipuo Peters is still in parliament after having allowed, actually, the Transnet to actually give public money to the ANC. That's something which is not denied, by the way. And what does she get? A slap on the wrist, docking of 1 month's salary, suspension, and so forth and so on. How much money was expended at Transnet? What about the corruption that took place, which was exposed by the Zondo Commission, which implicates a number of ANC leaders? We're not talking ordinary members of the ANC. We're talking about high-ranking leaders of the ANC. They are still there. In fact, Zwelin Mkhize is still a top official who is doing some work. I don't know what it is, but he's doing work for the ANC, despite the fact that there is a dark cloud hanging over his head. So To me, it is just a question of appealing to the conscience of the electorate to say, we are now doing something about it. They should have done that long ago.
So for me, it looks like it's too little, too late, because the elections are around the corner, about 6 weeks away, and the ANC seems to be grasping at straws to regain credibility. That being said, I'm kind of also wondering about all of the people that have been mentioned here. Will they well and truly, uh, will the ANC well and truly get rid of them? And this also then confirms we've been talking cadre deployment for a long, long time. The ANC kept denying it. This then proves that issue as well, cadre deployment, and also that the rot is so deep within the ANC because every second person he has been captured. I guess that's the reason why they couldn't call anyone out, because if you called someone out, you in turn would be called out for your corrupt activities within the ANC and within the state as well.
You see, if ANC were to implement this decision today, it will immediately be in a minority in parliament, immediately. Because so many of them are implicated in one way or another in corruption. So indeed, they're in a panic mode. They don't know what to do. They've got to salvage whatever they have. And, the ANC has been doing this for so long that, in fact, the leadership they have is the best of the worst that is left in the ANC. There is nothing they can do anymore to replace those people, because with whom do they replace them with? Because all the good people in the ANC have actually gone out of the ANC. They are not a part there or thereof. So they are probably going to be trying to salvage probably some kind of votes in the rural areas, people who have put them in office, the ignorant majority. But that too, it's a high risk, because they are now becoming aware. If we were to look at and I wrote about this, the budget speech of the Minister of Finance, normally it will be the poor that will listen to that budget speech and with high hopes, and thereafter the ANC will be assured of a vote. Now the poor are actually talking about what is 10 rands, what is 100 rands. That again, given the bad state of the economy, there was nothing that the minister could have done except to dangle. It's not even a carrot; it's a carrotlet to say, "Please put us back. We will do the best this time around."
Now, Pule, despite this report, which is pretty damning, the Commission seems adamant on implementation of this report, but then they also go on to say, and I wonder what do you make of this, that Ramaphosa, Mantashe, and Godongwana have all been cleared of any nefarious activities regarding the ANC or state capture. Your thoughts?
Let's start by understanding one term which is important in leadership. Very, very important. It's called beyond reproach. What does that mean? It means that there must be no thread of a doubt on the image of a leader of an organization. No thread. It doesn't have to be confirmed that you are wrong. Just that suspicion is enough for you to step aside. Now, to say whether Mantashe has been cleared and so forth and so on, is really hanging on this very tiny thread. It's not going to be helpful. It's too late now, because they could have said that the minute the Zondo Commission delivered the report. They could have done that long ago. They are saying it now because, you see, the Integrity Commission has to do what is right, but at the same time make sure it assures the ANC of survival, and that's a very tight rope to manage.
Okay, so we also know that Zuma was flagged by this Integrity Commission. This was before he joined the MKP. How do you see that playing out? And do you believe that Zuma does then, in fact, have a future? Or because he's no longer with the ANC, he is absolved from this report, this integrity report?
You see, for a long time, the ANC had actually made South Africa its product, and they reached a point where they believed that South Africa it is its product, its commodity. I remember talking to some leaders in the ANC before Zuma became the president to say, if you remove Thabo Mbeki, do you think he is the best replacement for Zuma is the best replacement for him? All they could say is that Zuma is accessible. Zuma is this. And I said, but in government, you don't need accessibility. You need knowledge, you need education, you need all of those kinds of things. Zuma doesn't have any of those. Now, that comes to the point of arrogance. You see, when you are arrogant, even when you are advised about the correct thing, because of this arrogance, you don't want to listen to the truth. You want to listen to yourself. What you believe is right is right. No other opinion matters. Now, the Zuma case. Remember, Zuma had to go to prison. Well, they say he went to prison. I don't believe he was in prison. I think he was in some hotel or some hospital somewhere. But then he came out, and look at what happens. He must go back to prison as a result of the Constitutional Court decision that he must go back. Guess what happens? Then Ronald Lamola must then craft something out to make sure that he doesn't go to prison. What do they call remission, right? Then the remission comes in, it is nicely crafted that Zuma doesn't go back. And what they had hoped to do is that there is no repeat of the so-called attempted insurrection, that it does not damage their election plans. Unfortunately.
Can I come in here, please? Pule, can I come in here? There has been talk by some very fierce supporters of Zuma threatening that South Africa will be seeing another insurrection if Zuma is not allowed, to form his own party, and his followers are not promised whatever promises he has made to them, and if those promises are not allowed to be passed on. Do you believe that the current government, or whichever government does come into power post the 2024 elections, that we are ripe for another insurrection? Or do you believe that leadership is taking a different view and will be prepared to quell something like that in the future? The country can't afford it. We cannot afford another insurrection or any type of interference in the running of the country.
Let me, I hate saying this, but I'm going to say it anyway. When you talk about security of the country, you really talk about the defense force, the police that is loyal to the country, that is not contaminated, that owes its allegiance to the country and its people. Unfortunately, what we do have, it's a defense force, a police force or police service that is clearly aligned one way or another. And that alignment is divided now into two groupings. One would be the ones that are Cyril aligned, the other one would be probably the one that is Zuma aligned. Now, whichever political party takes over, they have got a mammoth task to manage that. A mammoth task, because you see, when you talk insurrection, we're talking about the capability of the state security to handle that. Are we in a position, if it happens tomorrow, to actually to control it today? I'm not too sure about that. Are we going to be in a position to manage that if another party or coalition takes over tomorrow? I'm not too sure about that. It's a very, very difficult question to answer at this moment.
Okay, let me wrap up. We way over time. Just two very quick questions, and that is, the commission is saying that this report of theirs will not go public. Yesterday, an ANC spokesperson, Mtlangi Bengu Motsiri, refused to be drawn into the discussion regarding the upcoming election candidate list. Does it matter at this stage whether they publish that list or not? Question number one. And what are your predictions for the outcome of the elections 2024, knowing also that the ANC has supported the Palestinian situation? Do you believe that that is going to sway the vote? People possibly were not going to give the ANC their votes, but because of this humanitarian action of theirs, will sway them into thinking that perhaps my vote should, after all, go to the ANC because they have been fearless in their stance and support of the Palestinian people.
Let's start with this secrecy around what happens with the integrity report as it stands right now. I think I've alluded to that already, that the ANC is in a panic mode. That is why the Mantashe thing will come out to say he's cleared when, in fact, the Constitutional Court says something else, because at the end of the day, he has to be cleared by the court. It's not about the ANC itself. All the ANC can do is to actually say to him, step aside until you clear yourself in the court of law. That's part. Now, let's talk about the election outcomes. There are two things that I have there. One, the Palestinian issue is a global issue. It's a national issue in the country. It's not a party political issue. Everybody is actually concerned about what's happening in Palestine. So it was an opportune moment for this government to jump in there and actually win the case. But you see, that is actually what's under the bridge now, because people are looking back and saying, what did the ANC do for us, right? Going towards election. They have done more wrong things than they've done the correct ones. That is why their language will always be, we have done this, but we could do more. Can we do together? They are trying to salvage the lost image and integrity they had some time ago. Whether the ANC will win the elections, that's another question. It's a different question now. Unfortunately, we have so many new parties that are there that, in my view, I think people will simply say, there are so many parties, I don't think I want to go because I don't know which one is the right one now. That might save the ANC, because only the ardent supporters will then go to the polls and put the ANC back into office. Now, I actually wrote an article about this proliferation of political parties. And I said, if we were to take 100 of them and put them in different classrooms and say, write your manifestos, 99.99% will be writing the same thing. The question is, why can't they work together and have this majority of the bigger number?
Absolutely.
Now, they are not doing that. Now, is it about the people or is it about themselves? That's a question. Because, as I say, our politics have gone commercial. And our constitution is not helpful in any way, because entrance into that field, the bar is so low that you need only so many people to vote into office. You're in parliament for 5 years, you get all the perks, the salaries, you don't have to do anything because you account to no one, and you've got it for 5 years. And that is where we are going to, unfortunately. And that is where the ANC is likely to get an edge over the rest.
Pule Monama, political analyst, thank you indeed. Very interesting discussion. I could have kept you here for the whole day, just unpacking all of these issues. Thank you indeed. I do hope to talk with you again in the future. God bless. Stay safe.
Thank you. God bless you too.
It is exactly 10 after 9 o'clock, and we are way over news time, but I do know that Zaid's standing by to bring the bulletin of the day to us. Please do bear with us. Thank you.